Hello everyone, I'm going to present the Meditech use case, and because we haven't spoken about medical technology at ZEISS so much, let me shortly tell you what we are working in which areas. In general, in medical technology, we are supporting neurosurgeons and ophthalmic surgeons. And neurosurgery, you might know our products if you know the TV show Grey's Anatomy, because if they do brain surgery, they often use our microscopes to show the tiny structures of the brain. And in ophthalmology, I believe that we have one of the nicest jobs in the world because we have people to see and we help to prevent blindness. The use case that I would like to present today is focusing on one of our biggest customer segments, which are cataract surgeons. And for those of you who don't know cataract, you might want to get to know it because every second one of you might get that sooner or later. It's a quite common disease, and it actually means that your natural lens gets cloudy. But the good news is there are companies that can help you, like ZEISS, and they can somehow replace your natural lens that gets cloudy with a new one, which helps you even to not wear glasses anymore if you had to wear some before. So cataract is one of the eye diseases that can cause blindness, which are the most easy ones to prevent. And as more and more people are getting old, and the older you get, the more the likeliness increases that you get cataract. And so you can imagine that the number of people, actually patients that have cataract, is increasing. At the same time, if we look at our cataract surgeons active in that area, they are facing increased cost pressure in the healthcare systems. So considering those two challenges of the cataract surgeons, they will get more patients and they have higher cost pressure. They really need to be very efficient to treat as many patients as possible. And therefore, somewhere they have, to everyone and all the suppliers supporting them, the strong demand that we take all the administrative tasks away from them so that they can really focus on their clinical activities. So therefore, our own target is to develop digital service tools for those cataract surgeons that helps them really to focus on the clinical activities and not be bothered with any administrative task. We have already developed apps, a customer interaction portal and an online shop, and since a few weeks we have a new member in our family, which has been jointly developed with the last semester of your fellow students. It is a sales rep assistant, and this app is currently being launched in Germany and Mexico. So it's a very successful result for us of the last semester, and we get extremely positive feedback from those two markets already. And when those pilots market will work, we will roll that out globally. So now coming more specifically to the use case that we would like to develop this time. This time we will not so much look at an administrative service only, but we will actually look at a more clinical application. And for that I would shortly like you to look at the workflow that a cataract surgeon has to do today. When a patient comes in, he somehow has to be consulted on what kind of product he would like to get. His eyes will get measured. And then somehow to get a new lens into his eye, this lens needs to be calculated. A little bit like for those of you who have spectacle lenses, you need to know which diopter is the right one for the patient eye. It's a little bit more complicated because it's inside the eye. So this calculation is a quite complex process. And then afterwards, the same surgeon takes the data to do surgery planning, do the surgery. And again, afterwards, the patient has to be examined again to see whether we really enabled the patient to see without glasses. And now the challenge that they have is that most of the workflow is quite streamlined, but for this IOL calculation topic, there's an absolute manual interruption of the process. So you can imagine there's a patient sitting in front of a ZEISS device where you get to know what kind of eye specification the patient has, but then to know what kind of lens the patient needs, you need to manually transfer the data and enter it into an online calculator. And imagine that the cataract surgeon is very busy, he doesn't have so much time to enter the data carefully, so it's not only inefficient, but that there's also a very high risk that he will enter wrong data for the patient. That means afterwards the patient cannot see as expected. There's a second big issue in this workflow, and that is actually everything that's happening after the surgery. As this measurement device that is used to look at the specification of the eye is offline, it's not connected to anything. The patient is measured again after the surgery, but we as a manufacturer and the one working on those formulas to do the calculation, we don't get any feedback. So we never know what we told actually to the surgeon, what would be the right specification is really the right one, and we have no chance to optimize. So this is also a big issue that we do not get this kind of post-surgery data. So we believe that there can be a digital solution that can somehow automate the calculation process, the way we can enter the data into the calculation tool, and also to basically get the data after the surgery to be able to optimize the calculation. And that brings us to what we want to do with you. We want to develop in this semester with you an iOS app that helps to improve this workflow. That actually means we would like to have a functionality that can scan the data of the offline biometry device so that it gets automatically and safely entered into this online calculator. And on the other hand, after the surgery, we want to scan the same data again to basically collect the data and store it in a database to be able to use it for optimization. And then there are two aspects which we would also like to do. We're not yet sure it's possible or whether it's too much functionality, but we would also like to get some workflow support, like an interface to our online ordering tool, which is another somehow digital link, which would have been manual otherwise. Yeah, why should you be interested in working with us? Similar to what Katrin already said, this is a real-life use case. So again, like last semester, this is not something that we want to develop as a prototype, but this is really something we want to bring to our customers and where we know that we can create a lot of value. You will also do something good somehow because you will help us to prevent that the patient gets the wrong lens and does not have the optimized visual outcome after surgery. And last but not least, we also believe that we are a fun team to work with, and of course we will be able to give you some insights into a very interesting medical sector, which is a growing market for the future. That's it. Thank you very much.